My name is Marin Whitlock, and I was 31 years old when I found myself limping down a hot county road with my baby girl pressed against my chest and my knee swelling under my jeans. My husband had taken my phone that morning. His mother had taken my car months before, and while I was trapped inside their quiet little house, they were secretly building a case to take my daughter away from me. They had a doctor, church friends, photographs, and a petition already prepared. What they did not know was that I had 52 pages of records hidden where no one would ever look. I used to believe I could fix anything by staying calm, working harder and keeping everyone around me comfortable. That belief started when my mother died when I was 14. My father, Nolan Pierce, was a county deputy who worked long shifts and came home with grief folded into his shoulders. My younger brother needed lunches, homework help, clean clothes, and someone to tell him life would keep moving. So I became that person. I learned responsibility before I learned how to rest, and by the time I became a registered nurse, taking care of people felt like breathing. I met Caleb Monroe at a hardware store on a rainy Saturday. He had rough hands, a shy smile, and a way of making simple kindness feel rare. He carried paint cans to my car and made me laugh in the parking lot. When he introduced me to his mother, Evelyn Monroe, I ignored the warning signs because I wanted love to be simple. Evelyn lived in a spotless white house outside town. Everything smelled like bleach, every chair had a purpose, and every conversation seemed already planned before I arrived. She smiled at me across the dinner table and told me I should be grateful her family welcomed me. Caleb and I married the next fall. When he suggested moving into his mother's house for a few months to save money, I agreed because the math made sense. My nursing income, his plumbing jobs, no rent, and a future down payment. At first, Evelyn seemed helpful. She cooked, folded towels, and acted like she was giving us a soft landing. Then my car key disappeared from the hook by the door. She said she had moved it for safekeeping. Then it stayed in her purse. Then Caleb drove me everywhere, and I stopped asking for what already belonged to me. The control grew so slowly that I kept explaining it away. Evelyn wanted my paycheck and a household account. She opened my mail. She listened when I called my father. When I became pregnant, she called my supervisor and told her I was taking medical leave before I had even decided. I confronted Caleb, but he just said his mother knew best. Around that same time, I noticed my phone battery dying too quickly. I checked the settings and found a tracking app I had never installed. When I mentioned it, Evelyn tilted her head and asked if maybe pregnancy was making me paranoid. My daughter, Nora, was born in August. She had my eyes, Caleb's chin, and the smallest fingers I had ever seen. Holding her changed the shape of my fear. I could tolerate being controlled, but I could not let them control her. Evelyn arrived in the hospital room and lifted Nora before I had finished feeding her. She called her my granddaughter, not our baby. After we came home, she decided when Nora ate, slept, and who could hold her. She made charts and taped them to the refrigerator like my daughter was a project she had been waiting years to manage. By winter, my life had become one house, one yard, and one set of rules. My phone was gone after Caleb claimed it fell in the sink. My job was on pause. My money was unreachable unless Evelyn drove me to the bank and stood beside me. My father called every Sunday, but Evelyn answered and said I was sleeping. I did not learn that until weeks later. When I borrowed Caleb's phone to text a coworker, he caught me and acted like I had betrayed him. Evelyn appeared behind him on the stairs, calm and satisfied, as if she had predicted every move I made. Then Dr. Harold Benton arrived one afternoon. He was Evelyn's family doctor and a church friend. He claimed he was there to check Nora, but after 3 minutes he turned to me and started asking questions about depression, sleep, bonding, and dangerous thoughts. I recognized the pattern because I had given similar screenings at work. Only his questions were not neutral. They were shaped to make me sound unstable. Evelyn stood in the doorway watching. I answered clinically, calmly, and accurately. He wrote notes anyway. That was the day I realized Evelyn was not just controlling me. She was building paperwork, so I started building mine. I bought a small blue spiral notebook and hid it inside a box of feminine supplies under the bathroom sink. Evelyn searched closets, drawers, and kitchen cabinets, but never there. I wrote in the same format I used as a nurse. What was said, what I observed, what it meant, what I would do next. I documented the missing car key, the tracking app, the phone restrictions, the blocked calls, the stolen mail, and the medical manipulation. Every entry had a date. Every entry had details. Every entry made me feel a little less trapped. Evelyn performed innocence beautifully in public. At church, she carried Nora in dresses she bought without asking me and accepted compliments like she was the mother. Her sister Paige helped spread the story that I was overwhelmed, withdrawn, and not safe alone. I later found photos on Evelyn's phone that Paige had taken from doorways. Me with messy hair. Me with dark circles. Me holding Nora while exhausted. They were not pictures of a failing mother. They were pictures of a woman being slowly cornered. But with the right captions, they could become evidence against me. The turning point came because Nora needed an immunization card. Evelyn kept all documents in her locked study desk, and I knew where she hid the key. While she was at Bible study and Caleb was working, I opened the drawer. The card was there, but underneath it was a folder. Inside was a petition for emergency temporary custody of Nora Monroe. It claimed I showed signs of postpartum psychosis and refused treatment. There was also my car title, still in my name, and a letter from Dr. Benton supporting Evelyn's claims. My hands shook, not because I was weak, but because I finally saw the whole machine. I photographed every document with an old digital camera from the junk drawer, placed everything back exactly as I found it, and returned the key. That night, I wrote entry 31 with more precision than anything I had ever written. I listed the petition date, the doctor's lack of psychiatric credentials, and the fact that my car title had been hidden from me. Then I used public phones whenever I could. A pediatric office, a grocery store, a neighbor's kitchen. I reached a legal aid attorney named Vanessa Cole, who listened to my records and understood immediately. She said we had to leave before Evelyn filed first. Evelyn sensed the shift in me. She watched me at breakfast and said I seemed different. She tightened the rules, ended short trips, and scheduled another visit with Dr. Benton. One night, I heard her through the floor vent telling someone they should file the petition before I did something rash. I knew then that waiting was no longer caution. It was danger. The next morning, I packed diapers, formula, baby clothes, and my notebook into the stroller bag. I lifted Nora onto my hip and walked toward the front door. Caleb blocked me. He said his mother wanted me inside until the doctor came. I tried to step around him and he grabbed my arm. My foot caught the doorframe, my knee struck the wood, and I fell sideways while twisting my body to protect Nora. Pain shot up my leg, but I stood. Caleb stared at his own hand like he had only just met himself. I pushed past him and walked out. The road was hot, the shoulder was rough, and every step sent pain through my knee. I had been walking 20 minutes when my father's blue truck slowed beside me. My father looked at me, then at Nora, then at my swollen knee. He asked where my car was. I told him my mother-in-law had taken it. His jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. He told me to get in, and then he said it ended that day. At his kitchen table, I told him everything. He listened like an officer taking a report and a father trying not to break. Vanessa arrived that evening, read my 52 entries, photographed my knee, and prepared the filings. The next morning, both petitions were heard in court. Evelyn came dressed in pearls and a charcoal blazer. She looked peaceful, wounded, and respectable. Her lawyer presented her as a worried grandmother. Dr. Benton's letter was submitted. Paige's photos were shown. Church statements described me as distant and fragile. Then I took the stand in my navy scrubs with my binder in front of me. I did not cry. I did not shout. I read dates, events, observations, and facts. I explained the tracking app, the hidden card title, the unauthorized medical leave, the blocked calls, and the custody petition I had found before it was filed. The courtroom changed slowly, then all at once. Evelyn stood and accused me of breaking into her desk. The judge told her to sit down. She started trembling, saying she had given us everything and that I was manipulating everyone. I sat still with my hands folded. For months, she had called my calmness coldness. In that courtroom, my calmness became credibility. Vanessa argued that Evelyn had isolated me from transportation, money, employment, communication, and medical independence. She said Dr. Benton had no authority to diagnose postpartum psychosis. She said my injury showed the danger had escalated. The judge denied Evelyn's custody petition. He granted me temporary sole custody of Nora, issued a protective order against Caleb and Evelyn, and ordered my car returned within 48 hours. I remember walking out of that courthouse into the bright heat with my binder against my chest, feeling like I had been underwater for half a year and had finally reached air. Caleb tried to stop me in the hallway and said he never meant for things to go that far. I told him his mother had raised him to fear a woman with a car key, but I would raise my daughter to fear nothing. 2 weeks later, Nora and I moved into a small apartment on Cedar Street. I bought a plain brass key hook and screwed it beside the front door myself. When my car came back, it still smelled like Evelyn's air freshener, so I drove with the windows down until the scent was gone. The divorce followed. The protective order was extended. Dr. Benton received a formal reprimand. Paige was named for her part in the surveillance. I returned to work at the hospital, where my supervisor told me they had held my position because Evelyn's story had never sounded right. I started therapy by choice, not because Evelyn had been right about me, but because she had been wrong. And I needed to understand how control can look like help when it wears a gentle voice. What I know now is simple. Gratitude is not a leash. A roof is not kindness if someone uses it to trap you. Love does not steal your keys, block your calls, or call you unstable for wanting freedom. Last night, Nora and I walked up our own driveway. The gravel crunched under my shoes, and for the first time in months, every step was mine.